What's up, YouTube fans? Today I'm going to be doing a fix video for the Omnigonix Spinout figure. You need a couple things to do the fixes, at least the ones I'm going to do. You want a little tray like this to kind of hold the parts to make sure you don't lose anything. You also want either some future shine, or I use this clear nail polish that seems to work. And you probably want a little screwdriver like this to get out the screws. And I also have a old X-Acto knife. This is to kind of get into some of the crevices where I need to get some of the nail polish to tighten things up. Okay, so now that we have our tools, by the way, this did fall off during the transformation, so that's already off. So we want to kind of get the arm that it was attached to off so we can fix it. Another thing you want is the glue to attach. So you can use model glue or whatever, some kind of glue. So I don't recommend super glue because once you get it on, this you can kind of get it off the figure if you get it onto a place where you don't want it. But once you get the super glue on anywhere, it's impossible to get it off and it can damage your figure. So I recommend this. It's not as strong as super glue, but it works. Testors cement for plastic models. Alright, so first thing we want to do is tighten up these wheels. And in order to do that, you want to take this swinging arm off by taking off this screw right here. And we're basically going to fix the wheels in place. So if you don't want to do that, then you probably don't want to do this fix. But I don't see any better way, so that's what I'm going to do. So you get your tester's glue here. You just want a little dot of it. You can put it on the end of your X-Acto knife. Just a tiny bit. Like that's enough. So I have a little tiny dot of glue on here. And I'm going to put that inside the wheel. So right in the hole, basically, where the screw goes, that's where you want that glue. Now, this will likely fix the wheel so it doesn't turn. So if you want your wheel to turn, obviously don't do this fix. This is assuming you don't care about your wheels rolling and you just want it to stop falling off. Then that's what you would do. By the way, all of these fixes I'm going to do are obviously at your own risk. If you don't feel comfortable doing it or you're not sure how to, then I recommend you don't. Alright, so I want to reattach this wheel. It goes on the outside of this piece here. So go ahead and put the screw, the little tiny screw, back in. And then kind of get it lined up. And then you can screw the wheel back on. Now, one of the issues with this screw is it's not deep enough. So it tends to pull right out. So get it as tight as you can and then let it sit. And you will be fixing this wheel, so I'm going to do the same thing on this side. The thing doesn't roll anyway, so what difference does it make if you have the wheels, locked in place? Alright, so this one, it looks like it's not the threads aren't stripped, so I can just tighten this screw. So if your screw threads aren't stripped, you can just tighten the screw. This one was stripped and it was just spinning, so there wasn't much I could do. Alright, we're going to leave those off for now because we have some other fixes to do and things are in the way. The next thing we want to do is, here, let's get his weapons off here first. Don't need those. The next thing we want to do is tighten up the legs. They're just way too loose, kind of falling apart. So you want to come at it back here and take this screw out. And make sure you put it in your little bin or whatever you had to catch things. Now, there isn't much on here. It's pretty minimal as far as the joint. So in here is kind of where you want your nail polish or whatever it is you're using. Tighten it up, especially in this direction. That seems to be the one that doesn't hold. So you could take this apart. Oh, by the way, I did see a review where someone said this piece is not used in the transformation. That is not true. This is used in the transformation. Basically, the head lies right here, kind of ends up in there. So this is used. I'm not sure why they thought it wasn't, but anyway, that's like one part that actually works well. It's manufactured well. So you want to get your nail polish out, or your whatever it is you're using. And if you have a brush like this, then you can just use the brush. And you kind of want to get it right around where the joint moves. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. And you can work it in there and do the other side. And you don't want to overdo it because you can always add more, but you can't take it off. The nail polish doesn't flake as much as the Future Shine floor polish, so I like this, but it is more of a permanent thing, whereas the Future Shine seems to like come off a little bit if you overdo it. So this one you kind of want to be a little more careful with how much you put on there, but I am going to apply liberally because I feel like this is an incredibly loose joint. So I'm also going to try to get some in the rotating one, the one that goes the other direction. It kind of goes up and down. And this isn't really the right place to get it in, but I'm going to try. Yeah, that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough to get polish in there. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the other leg off. Now, make sure you keep everything together. So, this is the right leg. So we'll put it together. That's the best thing is to put the screw back in where it belongs. And then keep all the parts, if you're doing a left and right, keep all the parts for left on one side and right on the other side. Okay, so we want to do this joint too. And unfortunately, it's inside a pin. So it's a little tough to get in there. You can probably work it in from here. Although that joint's not really the problem. I believe it's this one down here. It doesn't have any strength. So we're going to try to use the X-Acto knife to get inside there. So put some polish on there. Obviously, you want to make sure you're using an X-Acto knife you don't care too much about, because this is probably not going to make it a very good knife. Alright, so you kind of want to get it inside here, and it's very hard to get it in there. This isn't a very visible place, so I feel like we can just use the brush. So go ahead and Get your brush in there and apply extremely liberally to that joint, because that's one of the ones that's very loose and it causes a lot of issues. And you can't see it, so if it's a joint that you can't see, you could just glob it on. It's not really gonna hurt. You're not gonna be able to look at it because it's from the back and it's also inside his leg cavity. So in order to get it inside those joints, you really got to glob it on. All right, so that's that one. Oh, we got to do this too. Now, there's not much you can do about this because it needs to slide, so tightening that is not going to do much. And in fact, it's not a good way to put nail polish on here and tighten this. So I wouldn't recommend you put anything there. And same for this. That one is okay, so you don't really need anything there. I'm just trying to see. It doesn't look like there's a good way to put any polish in there without ruining the figure. So I'm going to recommend you don't put anything there. Now, this is the other wheel. It has a little peg on here, and you can just check this and see how tight it is. Now, again, if you don't care about it turning, just tighten it all the way. And as long as the screw is not stripped, you should be able to tighten it much more than it was before. And it definitely doesn't turn now. It's solid, but I don't care because the figure doesn't touch the ground anyway. Alright, so we're going to let this one sit for a little bit. Hopefully we got all the joints. Oh, you want to do it from the top too, I'm sorry. So fold it down like this, and then get it from here too if you can. Hopefully you can get enough polish in there to make it stay. Okay, there you go. So let that one sit for a bit, and we'll start working on the other one. So same thing, you want to take off the screw back here. Make sure you put this on the other side so you know this is left and right. Alright, so let's do the same thing. We'll apply some polish on the top here. Oops. And this one, just be a little careful because you can't actually see this part. And the right way to do this is to take the pin out and put it inside the pin. But that's very hard to access, so I'm going to try this and see how that works. This should help a little bit. We'll put a little bit on the pin too. You can try to get it in there. It's pretty tough because it's a very small pin, and you need to take the pin out, or you need a tool that'll get in there. So I'm not going to recommend you do that. It's a lot easier to do on the outside, because if you try to take this apart and it breaks, now you're really done. There's not much you can do at that point. So this one does feel tighter already. That's another thing. This polish dries very quickly versus the Future, which takes a little while. So I do like this because it's faster. I can put this together, 15 minutes later. All right, so we got that. We got both sides, I think. We'll just put them down. Now you want to come and do the same thing over here. Try to get the back, glab it on. I definitely don't recommend trying to get that pin off, because you'll likely break this figure since it's very low quality. You're probably going to break it. So just try to get as much as you can in there. Hopefully it gets in between the joints there. We'll also do this side. So fold the knee over and get another glob. And just get that in there. And we are going to test this at the end to see if this helped at all. So I'm not, 100% certain this will even work. It's really just an idea to try to make it better. Because I do like this figure. It's just a shame that they couldn't, produce the quality. They couldn't get the level of quality they wanted. And I didn't really say this, during the review, but I don't think this is worth the money. That's one thing I didn't say. This isn't worth the $90 that you had to pay. Oh, by the way, so these joints for me are pretty tight up here. I don't seem to have any issue. You can try to tighten these screws if you want to see if you can get the joint, and that does seem to tighten up that joint. Let's see if I loosen it. What happens? I don't know. Doesn't seem to have any effect on the joint. So maybe I got lucky on this figure and my arm joints are tight. They're able to hold his weapon. I don't have any issues. So, but you would do basically the same thing. Try to get the polish inside the pins. I'm not going to do it because I have no issue with my arms or shoulders. They're all seem to be fine. The head is all over the place, but right now I don't know a good fix for that. I believe the Omnigonix designer is putting out a fix where you do a little bit of cutting, a shaving on this thing. And I guess I'm not ready to do that yet until somebody else tries it. So I'm going to leave that the way it is. So another thing that doesn't work well is these don't stay. So if you can thicken up these tabs a little bit, that might help. But you probably, let's see if this is visible. You don't want to paint anything that's going to be visible. Yeah, it looks like that'll be covered up. So we can paint those tabs, and that should be fine. Shouldn't affect the figure at all. Yeah, if you can see whatever it is you're doing, the area that you're applying the polish, then you probably want to be careful about how much you put, because you'll see it. I mean, it is clear. This is a clear polish, so you can't really see much, but you can see that something was added, and if that's going to bother you, you definitely want to try to hide wherever you put this. Hopefully you can see on the camera what I'm doing. Apologize, I don't do a lot of fix videos. The only other video I've ever done a fix for is the Apollyon, and again, this is just reiterating the fact that why I don't buy third-party figures is this issue. They have quality problems, they have broken parts, they have reissues because of the broken parts, and that's why I don't get these. Takara has quality problems too, but guess what? Your retailer will give you the parts, or you can get another one and it'll probably be fine. I feel like the level of the problems is much worse on third-party figures. And so that's why I give third-party figures a little bit more wiggle room, or I don't know what to say, a little more I guess I'm a little more lenient because they have a much harder, the third party designers, they don't have a factory to, try things out and test it. And they can do prototypes, but they don't own it. In Takara, they own their own factory, they own testing, they own prototypes, they own manufacturing. They could produce a small batch and then fix problems in the small batch before they release the figure. By the way, I'm looking at this. This doesn't look like it's tight enough, so I'm going to try to get a little bit inside the pin. See if that helps at all. But yeah, so they just don't have the resources. These third-party guys are doing it. It's a labor of love to try to get, a good figure made, and it's really hard. There's a lot of growing pains that go with that, and a lot of the companies that have been doing this for a while, like Fan Toys and some of those others, they have the resource. Because they've done it a few times, they have the time put in. They know where things are going to go wrong. They know they have experience from previous figures. And every third-party company has had issues. They all had releases that weren't that good. This one happens to have a lot of issues, but if you go back and look at some of those other figures, they really all have a lot of issues in the beginning. And then they get better and better as they go. All right, so we've pretty much covered, we got, looks like there's a little bit of white paint or something here. Yellow paint. It came right off. There was a little bit of yellow paint there. So we're going to let this dry. But one other thing I said I was going to do is apply the stickers. And you can use a X-Acto knife for this. So I'm going to grab the X-Acto knife. And you can basically just get the sticker on the edge. Now I think, first pick a size. I think this is the right size. Let's see. Yeah, I think this one's going to be too big. It's not going to fit. So we'll go with the smaller one here. I prefer foil stickers, so that's why I use these. So, don't do that. So you want to kind of find the spot and then drop it down. That looks pretty good. I really like the way that looks. It's good. Okay, and there's also, I believe Sunstreaker had a sticker on his front hood. Let's see. Take a look at the G1 picture. I'll put one up in the top corner of the screen here so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so based on the picture, it looks like the sticker would go right in the middle, and we'd probably have to cut it. And I don't know if we want to do that. So let's see what it would look like. See, there'd probably still be quite a gap in between, so it'd look pretty odd. So I think you're better off not putting it on, or putting it on to one side, kind of off to the side. Now, the G1 toy did have it off to the left side, so it would have been here, right here. So you could put one, little insignia right there. All right, well, that's about it. Now that does make it look a lot cooler with the logo. The only other thing that wasn't covered in the regular review was the alternate head. So let's take a look at that. Again, you need the screwdriver to get off the original head. Hopefully this thing doesn't just fly apart into a million pieces. Looks like it does. You can take it off. Screw comes right out. It's pretty tight, so you gotta pull this. Oh, there we go. So, so I guess you gotta keep the face. And you put the screw back in. And there you have the alternate face. It is, you know, the ears are different and the eyes are slightly different. It's really the ears that are pretty much, you know, they have an angle here. It's not much. And the crest of his head is slightly different as well. So it's cool that they included that. I'm just going to stick with the original that looks more like the G1 character because I like my figures cartoon accurate. But yeah, that's about it, guys. We've pretty much fixed what we could. Let's try to get this guy back together and see if we have any improvement. So go ahead and take one of the legs here, and it has a slot, so you're just going to slot it in like that, and then put the other side on. Pretty simple construction here. There's no rocket science or anything. Really easy to take apart. Now you don't want to over tighten this thing. Apparently all these screws are eligible for being stripped, so you don't want to overdo it. Let's see. Now, still pretty loose. Not sure we got any improvement out of that. So you'd probably want to apply a little bit more polish. I'm going to do another coat. But for the purposes of this review, let's put it back together and see how much improvement we got. So same thing, you're going to put the cover back on. Oops. I did notice a lot of the moving parts on this figure have, oddly enough, just a screw and not pin. And I think that's one of the issues, one of the design issues with this is either it was inexperience or it was this one's almost stripped, so I want to be careful when you put these in. Don't overdo it. Get the head back on too. But you want to not tighten it all the way, but you should basically tighten it like just short of being all the way. And then put it back on the post. And then tighten it. There you go. So, let's see if we've gotten any improvement at all. God, I hope so. So, we have to kind of go through this whole process again of getting it situated, so bear with me here. Okay guys, we got him back together here, transformed. One thing right away, this is holding a lot better, this front piece. Now that I've applied some polish to the tips of the chest or neck piece, whatever you want to call it, it is holding a lot better right there. It doesn't seem to come apart just from a slight move. Let's see if the legs are any better. Yes, they are. I think I do have to open this up a little bit. Now, I didn't fix the head, so that's still a problem. Now, as you know, I'm terrible at posing on camera, so forgive me if this looks stupid. But you do notice the legs are staying a little bit better, and I didn't do much. I didn't take anything apart other than one screw, and that already looks better. Yeah, so I'm excited. This is not bad. This is not bad at all. Now that I've got the fix in there, let's see if we can get a good pose. There you go. So, I mean, it's still a little loose in this direction, but the knees are able to hold now, so a lot better. I'm happy that I was able to save this figure. I was actually going to return, but it looks like it's pretty good now. So here you go, Omnigonix fixed. It could probably use a little bit more fixing. There's a couple other things that are issues. The wheels, I really haven't figured out how to fix that. For me, I just tighten the screws all to the point where these don't turn anymore. So none of the four wheels turn at all. But if you look at this guy, that is not bad. That's not bad at all. Worth $90? Definitely not. Cool looking figure? Yes. Very good Sunstreaker homage? Yes. So that's pretty much all I have to say. This is my fixed video. As always, like and subscribe and leave any comments, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.